Lads and ladies, the first international break of the soccer season is over, thank the Lord and Saviour, but I will give credit to Sorare, they at least made it slightly more bearable thanks to the daily missions on offer. But before we get into that, let's have a look at my all-star rare lineup. 4 pretty good individual scores partnered with 3 bad individual scores, those latter bad individual scores, handcuffing this lineup in a way, and we have to look at this as a full MLS lineup that I've had to put in rare all-star here, whereas on a normal game week, this is a team in the in-season competitions for the MLS. Now remember, in-season MLS would be a 5-man team, not a 7-man team, and I know for a fact that team would have been Stuvert and Biber at the back, Wolf in midfield, and then the 2 Chicago fellas up top. No hyperbole there or what-ifs, that is what the team would have been with what I have in my account, meaning we would have had 4 decisives from my outfield players, and just looking at the individual scores with the bonuses that they have applied, doing some fast maths there for the fans, we'd be looking at almost 500 points for an in-season MLS team here, which, you know, not only would have secured us $10 for beating the first rare threshold, but also is probably going to net us a further $25 to $30 from the leaderboard. Now, we're not here to get into the semantics of whether the MLS should have been open or not. The rules are the rules, but fuck, that kind of sucks, right? I think you need 5 matches to open a competition, and the MLS only had 4 fixtures this midweek, funnily enough, so it is what it is, but the fact this lineup has been pushed over to All-Star instead, where I've not only had to add in 2 extra players in Gallagher and Fagundes, who did fucking shit, by the way, as you can see, but they've also had to compete with inflated international scores, where I think we can all agree it's a bit easier for players and managers and cards to stat pad on these international game weeks. Long story slightly less long, in normal circumstances this could be a $40 win or so, but instead we've won 100 essence, which is not quite the same. So that's my sad story for the week, and another reason to pile on top of why the international break is a fucking disgrace. But where my MLS players have come in clutch, however, is with these daily missions that I mentioned that have been on offer over this international break. There's been lots of underdog dailies where a decisive from certain national team players can get you 250 essence, and that's been pretty cool. But the big one has been the daily decisive offer in general, where with these missions you can select up to 3 players per day to achieve the target of decisive action, and the market credits on offer have been fairly generous, if I say so myself. $3 per player at limited level, $10 per player at rare level, and then a strong $40 of cold hard cash money per player on offer at super rare level. And that's where I've done really well this past game week. You can't see on my screen because of my face cam, but watch this. We're going to cut to my face. There I am, looking all handsome and cute, and then bam, we cut back. We're back onto Sorare, but now my face cam is in the bottom right corner. The power of editing on full display, and you can now see my market credits have soared to over £100 of the King's finest, which is pretty mad in terms of the value of the market credits right there. We still need to go out and utilize these market credits at 50% cost on the market. So it's still a little trick from Sorare to get people spending money on the game and on the market on new auction cards, which they perhaps may not have done without these, you know, fucking credits. But let's say in theory, we can still go out and buy a £200 player for only £100 worth of actual money on the market. And then we can just go and decide to undercut the manager sales market and sell him at, say, £150, and that's the method of converting the credits into cold hard cash money. So that's the plan for me, because I'm not super keen on adding any more actual players to my account right now. Now, my plan in that bracket of value is to go for a higher end limited card on the auctions market, as they should be easier to shift on the secondary market when the time comes, as not only will they be a higher quality player than, say, if I was to shop at rare level, but there will also be an increased user base looking to buy this player. And, you know, worst case scenario, if they don't sell on the secondary market, then at least I'll have a strong tier 1 to tier 0 player to use in my lineups. Really can't go wrong, you know, unless it does. But let's not think that way. Now, first looking at the auctions market, and we can see the days of £100 plus players is a rarer sight limited to the top end players, pardon the Sorare scarcity puns. And looking at David Raya, for instance, who you could argue is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, and he only maxes out at about £80 to £85. So we may have to look at buying multiple limited players here to cover our credits and convert that into cold hard cash money. Now, looking wider at the £85 plus players, and we can see a few of the big names hit the criteria. You know, a lot of PSG, Bayern and Liverpool players, as you'd probably expect. Vitinha, for example, would be a good option until we click on him and see he has already been bid up to £100 and his recent sells on the auction market have been closer to that £90 area. So, topping out here at this bid of £98. If we were to bid even higher, it would be £106 minimum, way over his expected price, which, isn't necessarily a major problem, as the market credits will be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for us. We might as well still try and play this smart and extract the maximum amount of value as we can. Worth keeping in mind, with the amount of market credits on offer this past game week, it's likely other managers will be looking at converting their credits into cash in a similar manner, so there may be increased competition on the upper end of the auctions market that you'll see over the next week or two. The silver lining here is that if we do get outbid, the Lucky Loser promo is still on offer, where we could get some decent essence to top up our account. So, now's a great time to do this in every capacity of the word, especially with actual soccer back this weekend. And, if we just look here on the market at some other players, again, the usual suspects at Bayern, such as Luiz, Elise, Kane, and Kimmich, they're too expensive for the money I have in my account right now. But we've spotted Erling Haaland of Manchester Blue, who is currently under the scope of his value on the auctions market. Now, he typically goes for about £95 to £100, and here he is at £84. So I've bid him up to £98, of course, using half of my market credits in the process. The theory here being that I'm getting a player to sell on the secondary market, or if I do get outbid at a higher end or over his expected value, I'm at least getting some essence back, and we can start the whole process again. So win-win is the name of the game at this episode of the Sorare lifestyle, and we did actually get outbid. Okay, it's sad news, we did get outbid, but we have to go again. And we're just going to keep going forward. So let's just fucking stop chatting shit and see what I did with my market credits, I guess. Lucas Chevalier, the new PSG #1, now with no competition since Donnarumma has gone and left the club. Now, we got Chevalier for about £107, obviously with 50% off, so an outlay of about £53.50. And I'll be honest here, I completely forgot that when you buy a player with market credits, you have to wait 2 weeks to sell them on the secondary market. Seems fair, I guess, to try and prevent people from doing this exact thing, but you can't stop the motion of the ocean when it's in full throttle, and I am a wave. So definitely worth keeping that in mind if you plan on converting your market credits into cold hard cash money, as the market can change in 2 weeks, especially if other managers are, using their own market credits and buying and selling players at the same time, at the same points. That could, shift the market trajectory or some shit, I don't fucking know. But hey, at least we still have a great goalkeeper card to use for the next few game weeks, so there is some value there as well. Now, looking at the secondary market, and Chevalier is up for about £100, so accounting for the 2 week wait and the anticipation of myself undercutting the market. Let's say I list him for maybe £90 and accept an offer in the £80 to £85 region. Once we take off 5% secondary market fees, we're looking at around a sell of £75 to £80. Let's call it £78. So from our initial outlay of £53, this means we will have made a £25 profit, or about 50% of the value of our market credits. And remember, this is me doing this in a very rushed fashion, overbidding a bit and, having some vague market conjecture in there. So I'm sure some of you smart folk could maybe up that return to 60 to 65% of the market credit value if you put the work in. I'm just fucking lazy, alright, so I'm not really going to put that work in myself. But again, if you also want to actually purchase a card for your account to keep and use, these market credits are really helpful. This is just for someone, if you're not looking at buying cards or adding to your account, it's still worth using these market credits to try and siphon some cold hard cash money back into your account from the game. And, as you can tell, you're not going to be able to fully recoup 100% of the market credits value. That's just an implausible possibility. That's just not a thing you can do. Alright, but you can give it the good old college try. Because even still, in the last week, as you've seen on my account, I've won over £100 worth of market credits. That's 50 quid right there of the king's finest. That's, a decent game week in terms of looking at it like that, considering my actual lineups fucking didn't do anything. Just use your market credits when you get them, even to resell. Keep an eye on the daily missions, because that's a lot of value there, even just for the essence, not even just the market credits. Just keep an eye on all that shit, and we're done. Fuck this shit. I'll catch you next time, because I love you.